Let me check on YouTube. All right. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to our event. We're going to record this and we are going live. All right, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope that you had an amazing week and you're going to have a fabulous day. We have some sessions coming up, starting out with our keynote. So Johnny Fajardin is a clinical psychologist. He's a Kung Fu world champion. You're the first Kung Fu world champion I've ever met. And he's a digital content creator YouTube channel. Johnny BJ is the fusion of these area of expertise, beginning with the 100 skill acquisition series. So that is how I met Johnny. I came across on Instagram as he was doing his 100 skill acquisition, and I just got totally blown away. So he works to inspire others to regenerate themselves, mind, body, and spirit, and surf inner warrior to face daily battles with tranquility and discipline. Johnny, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, the floor is yours.
All right, cool. Okay. Hello, everybody. So thank you, Anne, for that introduction. Well, as Anne said, so this keynote is going to be recorded. So if anyone wants to go back and see anything, the video is going to be available on the website and possibly off the website as well. So I'm here to tell you why and how 100 plus skills in 4 months. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I do want to give you guys some context, though. I want to tell you, share my story with you guys and just certain events that were really important that led up to, the present moment. So it's relevant. Bear with me. Okay. So I was born in the US and growing up, I was a very, very, very shy kid. And when I'm 13 years old, my parents announce that we are moving to South America. And this wasn't the best news for me. When I was little, I hated speaking Spanish. I was very resistant. They would, my parents would speak to me in Spanish and then I would reply back in English. Thing is, when we moved to Chile, I start going to school, and because of this language barrier, I start to, I have this accent. And so when I'm interacting with the other kids, they would pick on me. I got picked on a lot because of the accent. And so then I started to feel a little bit of anxiety. And then, I would eat out of anxiety, and then I started to get chubby, and then kids were picking on me because I was, I was chubby. So I was that kid, the kid that was picked on. I didn't have any friends, didn't have a girlfriend. My grades were actually, not good at all. I didn't have a therapist. I was pretty much on my that moment. It was a pretty challenging moment in my life. So I'm 16 years old, and I remember I was at the mall and I decided to walk home. And then while I'm on my trip back home, I happened to see this martial arts academy. It was a Shaolin Kung Fu school. And somehow in that moment, I just built up the courage to, go inside the office and, speak to the secretary and ask for information. And it was such a nice experience. The secretary was so nice to me. Then once I get home and I tell my parents about it, and, they're willing to classes, and, it was a very exciting moment. So all of a sudden, now I started to train Kung Fu. It was this thing that I always heard of, like, from my dad because he practiced it for a year. And so, so I'm in this discipline. I'm receiving information, knowledge, right? And I'm also acquiring the skill set. I'm building myself up. And so, right, in like getting into the martial arts movies, I'm watching, this is relevant, I'm watching Karate Kid, for example, and I'm seeing how Mr. Miyagi would, teach his disciple, the wax on, wax off. And then, I would just kind of like imitate that, like in my head, that wax on, wax off. And it was just a very exciting training. So years pass and things started to change, like I had friends. My posture was different. I'm a lot more confident. I'm more athletic. And I'm also with people that have a common interest with me, of all ages. And so the picture on the left, that was us in the airport in Chile. We were going to Argentina because there was a world championship being held in Argentina. And I didn't have any expectations of winning, or, I wasn't competitive. To me, it felt like a field trip. I just felt like, oh, I have to go. So great, some experience. I'll just tag along. And so long story short, I compete in my category, people around the world, and I win gold medal. And while I'm making these slides, somebody pointed out to me, like, wow, like, look at your face. You're not even smiling. Like, what's going on? And that makes sense to me now. I'm looking back, because imagine this kid, this person, right, went through, right, and like really was having a tough school. But, now finally something good was happening to me. And I haven't really even processed, even with the sign in back of me that says, I just am not processing what's happening in that moment. But this was a key moment in my life, because the information, the skills that I acquired helped me to regenerate myself in certain areas of my life. So, so I keep training. And then so on the left, I graduated as a black belt. And then ultimately I got to be a 5th degree black belt in my discipline, which is the highest you can go. And since I was in Chile, arts were regulated. So I had to take an exam in front of these these high rank government officials. They all had martial arts knowledge, and there were masters. There were some people in military related fields there, and so I passed the exam, and so the to to have my own school. On the bottom, you can see those were some of my students, and so what happened there was that was a moment where I had the opportunity to help others regenerate themselves, just like I did for myself. So around the time when I became a black belt, high school was about to end. And just like everyone, I had to pick a career, right? And so, I was already feeling the pressure, the family pressure, the academic pressure, like you need to pick a career. It's something that you have to like, because, if you're about it, and it was just this pressure, right? And my problem was that I love to do there's so many things that I wanted to do, that now I'm being made, you need to choose one. So I remember just my dad helping me out with that. And then for some reason, I would incline to careers that had to do with helping people. So it narrowed down to clinical psychology. So I apply for a university, right? I get accepted, start studying. And just like what happens to a lot of students in psychology, I start to notice things that were happening to me, or things that have happened to me. I do notice a lot of family issues, that I had, and how that affected me. I also noticed that I didn't have the tools. I didn't have skills, the personal resources. So this 7 years of studying psychology, internship, then I did as a clinical psychologist. So, at that point, I remember feeling this was like, great, everything's great until here. And, I felt like, wait, now I'm this clinical psychologist. I'm, in the mind. And then, I have Kung Fu, right? Mind, body, and spirit. So I just felt self-realized everything was great. And because of that, then I had the opportunity, I had my private practice. And then I was also, hired in other places, and I had my own patients. And then now the information and the skills that I acquired, I was giving it to my patients, and I was helping them to regenerate themselves, just like I regenerated myself. So at that point, it's been 16 years since I've been in Chile. And so when I'm at that point in my career, my creativity starts to develop, and I start to have these projects, and I start to notice that the environment where I'm at is not letting me achieve these goals. So I start to consider the possibility of moving back to the US. This actually didn't happen that long ago. And so then I start to, look into revalidating my career in psychology. And then I learned that it would take me a couple of years. I'd have to study again pretty much. So I thought to myself, if I'm going to study again, like, why not? I just try like another career. And so then like this whole like world opened up to me and I just got really excited. And in that, like, in that thought process, I remembered that I like to make videos, like ever since I was little, when I was 5 years old, I was always, with my handy cam anywhere and just no brand, no objective, just filming whatever silly random thing. And so I knew at that moment, I was thinking, I want to make videos, like maybe something with, or like showing my skills. It wasn't developed yet, but I was like, when I get there, I'll do something. I'll do some sort of project with that. I'm not sure. So I moved back to the US, to the Bay Area by myself. My friends laugh at me now, but in that moment I was saying, you know what? Okay, I'm going to be totally focused, just grinding every day. I'm going to get, going back to the US and play starting from zero. That was kind of the adventure, right? And so, I'm going to get like this minimum wage job, right? Starting just from the ground up. I'm going to start studying again. I'm going to be just concentrating on my projects. And no matter what, I am not going to have a girlfriend, because I've had, girlfriends in the past, and friends, how that transformation, I already went through that transformation before. So then after 2 months of moving back to the US, I got a job and, this girl invites me out on a date. I say no. I was very resistant to it, but somehow after a few months, I have a girlfriend. And, so it was unexpected, but it all of a sudden turned into this serious relationship, right? And then like she's the one, and like my plans start to shift a bit, and everything's great, everything's fine. So long story short, basically we broke up. I get cheated on, and she ends up being with somebody else, right? Like the person that was my best friend. And so at that moment, I just remember all of a sudden, like I just entered this very dark place, this huge depression. And I, even start to find out who that person was, which was a bad idea because then I started to compare myself, started looking at the color of my skin. I'm starting to look at myself socially, right? I'm not this clinical psychologist and Kung Fu instructor, in the US, right? I wasn't working as that. So socially, I was like in another position. So all of a sudden, self-esteem, everything, all the information, the skills that I had from psychology, right? This clinical psychologist, right? That would occasionally be called a doctor by the patients. The Kung Fu instructor that, my disciples, my students would call me master. This person hit rock bottom, and all that information was just behind this like emotional cloud. So you guys get the gist of it. It wasn't a pretty picture. So just like it happened when I was little, I started to eat out of anxiety, and that surfaced up again. And then so it was every day eating junk food, just, depressed. I was lost. I wasn't thinking of it. It was just mindless. And it was months of those bad habits. So all of a sudden, and I'm pretty sure I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I just felt worthless, didn't like who I was. And I remember stepping on a scale and looking at the numbers, and I gained 50 pounds. And then I look in the mirror, I just do not recognize this person. So that's when the information, the skills that I had, everything that I built before, started the subconscious, which is in the subconscious probably, looks at this mirror and it's a totally different person. So this was a red flag. And this is where I stopped. And then I said, okay, no, this isn't right. I can't give up. I didn't come here for this. I need to change this. So then because of this free time, now I'm diving into the theme of this presentation. I started to have more time, and then I remember the videos. I start to remember the goals that I set, before moving to the US, moving back. And so I start remembering the videos, and then I remember the skills. And so while I'm kind of reflecting on it, I remember, well, actually, no, I think of I just came up with a challenge. I was thinking maybe I should do a challenge. Maybe I could learn 100 skills. And it just came up like that. Then I'm asking myself, do I even know 100 skills? And so then I got kind of excited for that. So then I was like, okay, fine, like let's do that challenge. It just felt right. I didn't even know why I was doing it. I just felt like, okay, this is what I have to do. And so it's no surprise that the first skill I want to learn is how to lose weight. Learn how to lose weight. Now, for some people, that's actually, we would probably consider it as not a skill, but personally, to me, it is a skill. Not everyone can like lose weight when they want, and to do it a healthy way, right? It takes a lot out of you sometimes. Like it's a mind body like thing and spirit for some. And so it takes an ability to lose weight. So it was a lot of trial and error. So after 30 days, taking steps forward and taking a few steps back, I lost 20 pounds, right? So it was an accomplishment. And at that point, I was feeling better, but I wasn't feeling great, right? But then when I get to that point, I'm thinking, okay, so what other skills can I learn? What can I do? So from there, I get to the point where I'm learning almost a skill every day, right? And so what I did too was I started documenting my process, started recording myself, and I'd upload these videos on Instagram. And it was mostly so I can be accountable, and I could, and also when you put it out there in front of people, it's another type of commitment. You have like eyes on you too, and then it's mostly a record for me though. And so if you look at the top left, my first thumbnail is that black space. And that was my editing skills. And it was just like, it was just like done. And now that I look at it, it really does reflect how I was feeling at that moment, right? There's no color, there's no life, there's no title. It's like just this dark space. There's nothing there. I was feeling like nothing. And so when I get to skill number 2, though, right, then you'll start to see that there's a number, and there's a title. If you look on the right, and there's pictures, and then like now you can see like an outline in the titles, and then like there's different colors. Like when I'm getting towards skill 100, so this is a great like graphic representation of my internal world and how I was becoming alive. So learning skills ultimately helped me to regenerate myself. This process was helping me to regenerate myself through what I was going through. So while I'm on this journey, so I learned skills from a whole bunch of disciplines and art forms. I've learned skills from basketball, soccer, skateboarding, juggling, to martial arts, dice stacking, yoga, parkour, magic tricks, cardistry, dance moves, and more. And so, at some point, I remember looking back, when I was like 18, when I'm thinking about my career, and now in this moment right here, I doing everything that I love and everything that I've always wanted to try, and it's all in one format. So I started to become super passionate about this, and this honestly starts to become a lifestyle. And so this also, like when I'm in this journey from 0 to 100, people started to follow me on social media. Then all of a sudden I'm getting skill requests, I'm getting suggestions. People are helping me pick thumbnails. I'm getting, messages, and I'm getting like these comments of people like cheering me on and like congratulating me for 25 skills, 50, 75 to 100 skills. I got so many messages, and I can't say I did it by myself, but so, everyone's love really helped me, it influenced me, and it really like powered me up, to reach my goal. So around skill 100, I start to realize, right, this is resonating with people, and people would tell me too, like, you inspired me, or I admire you. And so, it was at this moment that I realized what skill learning was actually doing for me, and then also for others. So I ended up creating a YouTube channel, Johnny BG. And so this is my way of helping others to regenerate themselves. So I'm pretty sure you can see the pattern there. So like learning new skills for me is its own discipline. It's just like psychology, kung fu. It's this way where I can receive information and skills, not even filter it, just anything's welcome. And that all is contributing to my self-improvement. So I did regenerate myself from the situation that I was living. But I do consider that I'm still regenerating myself now, in the sense that I'm always leaving room for self-improvement. And this is always a message that I'm, giving my followers. So now I want to shift the perspective, not only on you. I do encourage you to learn to be open to everything. Like I said, this is a lifestyle for me. There are no useless skills. I don't know how many times I've heard people say that, this is such a useless skill. Everything, it overlaps at some point. This is something that I learned. And so while I'm learning all these skills, you start to realize similarities, patterns, and you start to realize how they connect from one profession, how one profession can connect with another. These transferable skills. You can search it up like that. So I remember when I told people that I was going to stop being a clinical psychologist, for example, that, I was going to pursue another career. Some people were like, great, no, yeah, you have to follow your heart. That's great, And other people were like, really? Like after 7 years and working as a clinical psychologist, you're going to stop? You're just going to, stop using those skills and, do something else? But now, the truth is, when you learn skills, you always carry that with you. You carry them with you and you'll use them in different moments of your life when you're aware, right? So they're like tools. Learning skills is like collecting skills is like collecting keys. And just one key can open many doors, right? Towards like new experiences and like new possibilities. And so also regarding the transferability of how skills can be transferable. So I remember I was mentioning to you guys the Karate Kid, right, moment I had where I'm just watching the wax on, wax off, right? And so the point of that from in the movie, right, Mr. Miyagi, is when he's going wax on, right, the car, wax off, this ultimately, this movement, right, becomes like a self-defense thing, right? So that skill of waxing the car became is a transferable skill, right? But when you look at the movie, right, we're just kind of like left with what they're giving us. So like you can how you apply it is then you have to actually start to notice those similarities and other things. So we got, for example, the wax on, wax off, and I learned how to juggle, for example, very quickly, probably because of that. I was probably learning, because of looking at that movie, I was learning skills without even knowing it. So, for example, like wax on, wax off. And then, when it comes to juggling, for example, it's a very similar, working on that, but it's a very similar, right, movement, okay? So that happens, and it's not just physical things. Like I know I put photos, I put images of, skills that are, physical skills, but, this happens in psychology. It can happen in medicine and it can happen, with theoretical things, right, as well. So this is something you can apply to any field, any profession. So in conclusion, if I could give you guys the most valuable piece of information, it would be that it isn't the discipline that you do, it isn't the hobby, it isn't the activity, the category that's going to help you regenerate yourself or surface your true potential. Rather, it's the information within them, the skills within them that will bring out your true potential. So, thank you, everybody.
Awesome. All right. All right, we're going going to do a little, thank you, Johnny. We're going to do a little Q&A. First, I'm going to start out. If you have a question, please leave it in the comment, or again, grab the little mic and we'll bring you on. Incredible story, powerful story. And, I can completely relate to your story because very similar to where, I was following a path. I decided to change. It didn't go as planned. You hit rock bottom and you end up reinventing yourself, or you say regenerating yourself. And I've regenerated or reinvented myself so many different times. I feel like I've lived different, multiple lifetimes because of that. But there's been such tremendous value, and it's crazy. I think I'm done, and I think you are too, because I'm on this journey first time in your experiences, and you're doing your skills learning. Like I know that I'm not gonna return to another rock bottom, because I am on that growth, continuous growth now, in the pursuit of greatness. But if you're not, I think you are in danger of having life event and circumstances spiral you down to somewhere where you lose who you are. Right. You forget, like, you had accomplished at that point. You had accomplished so much. And I love how you say, like, that all just went away. Being a Kung Fu master and having taught students and impacted and changed their lives, and becoming a clinical psychologist and having patients and changing their lives. And all of a sudden, bam, that's all gone. Mm-hmm. And that can happen to any of us, and totally relate to the, emotional eating. So that was awesome listening to you. I'm like, man, I can so relate to that. And I'm sure many other people can. And then we both found ourselves on this journey of exploring more of what life has to offer and what we're capable of. And that's life changing. So I want to dig a little bit more into that, because you do a really great job starting to touch the surface of the fact that I love how you ended it, and that don't focus on the skill itself or its utility, but focus on its impact on you. Like, it is changing you. It is adding value. So I have a teacher, right? Increase the sum of who you are when you experience at a time. It's increasing who you are, and you never know how that's going to benefit you. You just know that it's going to. So now that you have over 100 skills under your belt, one, how much easier has it become to learn new skills? You touched on it a little bit with the juggling, but just like, how quickly can you now learn something compared to the beginning?
Well, that's the thing. To be honest, when you acquire more skills, right, and like I showed with the juggling, right? So those similarities, you'll start to see those patterns within different disciplines, right? Different professions and different skills. And it kind of makes sense, right? You just, since they're so similar, it's almost like, same with the wax on, wax off. Like, this is something that you kind of are understanding. You're like training yourself, right? To like this, it's the coordination. You start to apply it. You can apply it in the elements, right? You apply it to other things. But that's what I believe. I believe the more you learn, just the faster it gets, right? And the more practice, right? I do think it's about collecting just information and executing it. Mm-hmm.
So it's the process of neuroplasticity, right? So you're as you're learning, your brain is rewiring itself, and as it's rewiring itself, it has the efficiency of the brain is incredible. It wants to save energy, and it wants to do everything it does better. So the more you feed it, the more it can make all those connections, and then you become you recognize pattern. It's really not like you don't have to put effort in doing that, right? It's happening.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like in one moment you trained it already, and now you just, maybe there's another skill. It's similar, but since you've trained like a base or like, one aspect of it, then the next skill becomes easier. It's the question is, the tough question is, when do you actually start learning skills then? For example, the juggling, when did I start learning? Did I start learning to juggle when I was looking at Karate Kid? Or did I actually learn it while I'm grabbing the balls and going? Does that make sense? Because I already learned the movement, for example, wax on, wax off, or the self-defense in Kung Fu. So, yeah, what do you call it? Also, I do agree with this whole thing about cultivating yourself and kind of going inside, because I feel like it's really trendy. Like, for example, we hear a lot of people like, oh, like, how do you take advantage of life? Like, what's your carpe diem? And a lot of people say, I love to travel, right? And that's really like going to places, seeing, the quality in other places, the potential there, and I feel like when it comes to learning skills, it's a journey, but it's going inside, it's an introspective thing. And so it's exactly that. It's cultivating yourself. It's, training to, be prepared for any moment, for any skill that comes your way. It's just building its abilities, right?
Yeah.
So
So let's. So how I love the images that you had and how you can now see the darkness and the light and then the colors, and you're posting your thumbnails, and as it was, your journey was opening you back up and you were plugging. So one of the things that I talk about the journey first time in your experiences, it's plugging yourself into life. It's co-creating with life, right? So because you're putting more into yourself, you're putting more into life, you're receiving a great deal more. And I love how you have a visual representation of that happening. So as you were selecting what skills to learn, what were the challenges in learning itself? And how did you overcome like sucking at first and not being good at something at first?
So, well, I mean, like you're going to start to notice, like when I did it, you do start to notice the skills that are, there's some things are harder for some, an individual, and it's different for other people. But um, personally, it was just you just really dive into it, and when you really open yourself to new disciplines, like if you become passionate about it, then you know that's all you need. Like if you genuinely want to do it, you dive into it, and it's practice, it's repetition. It's learning. It's learning, and we do that ever since we're in school. It's just diving into it, going at it, executing, and that's another thing that I feel like resonates with a lot of my viewers too. Is it's really hard when you have an idea but to actually go through with it or to do it every day, to be constant. But it's just in the repetition. It's just in doing it, setting being consistent about it.
Yeah. I, that, and and when so for people, and I'm a huge Dr. Huberman fan, and so if you don't listen to this podcast, everyone, like when it comes to learning, you need to tune into the man. But he actually two things that he talks about: the repetition, what Johnny just said, and even when you're doing it wrong, one, your brain is learning that's not the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you figure it out, you get the boost of dopamine, and then your brain imprints that like, oh, that's the right way, because you get excited. So I'm learning jump rope tricks right now, and every time I do it wrong, I get frustrated. So my brain wants to avoid being frustrated. Therefore, it wants to learn how to do it. But if you give up and if you don't do the repetition, then you never learn. And then when you get it, then you get excited, and then you start imprinting the right way of doing it, and then that's how the learning process takes place. And I'm focusing on one area, so I'll put variety more in because I'm also doing mountain biking tricks, but
Nice.
to and using that process of, okay, it's going to imprint, and then neuroplasticity actually does not occur unless there is a level of frustration attached to it. So unless you get that level where you get a little frustrated with, you're not quite getting it, that's when, again, the brain's like, oh, you're serious about this. You really do want to learn this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it tunes in. So it's really great. And what Johnny demonstrates is that it's possible. There's Do you get people asking you questions like, well, that's great, it works for you because you have a certain personality type, you're a certain type of person, but it's not going to work for me?
Oh yeah, no, and I'm no special snowflake. I mean, it's just a matter of everybody can do it. Anybody can do it. It's the whole, we've always heard it. Everything's possible, and even if it sounds as corny as it sounds, and like what you're saying, the surface level of, the whole repetition thing. It's just trial and error. And it's going at it, and it's living the process too, right? Yes, I've when I started to juggle four balls, oh my God, like that was the most frustrating thing. And I was like, oh, because, you would think from 3 to 4, I'm like, oh, like I got this, like I can do it. And it took me so long, and I'm just like, oh my God. And it just kept going and kept going. But like, you know what I mean? Like those emotions, you have to live it. You have to enjoy it, accept it, go through with it. As long as you don't stop. That's the thing. If you can feel, you can be, it's kind of like when if you go to a theme park and you're scared on roller coasters, like if you get on the roller coaster, even if you're scared, even whatever you feel like, but if you get on, then that's when you're going to enjoy it, not just looking at it, never getting on it. So
Yeah. Excellent. Well said. So the takeaway, lots of takeaways here, but just know that it's possible. It's possible for everyone. And we are living proof. You can find other people online that are living proof of that. And know that it's going to change you in just amazing and incredible ways. And it makes living just so much more enjoyable and fun. Because you're constantly growing, improving, you're acquiring your skills. Like Johnny said, you never know where those skills are going to transfer to something else, what opportunities, what people they're going to bring into your life. So, embrace it. Now, how do people find you on social media?
So now everyone could find me at Johnny BG on YouTube. So you just type in Johnny BG and it should be the first channel that pops up. And and anybody that wants to learn 100 plus skills and follow this journey and join the group, then you're always welcome. And and of
And
course, everyone hop on board and like subscribe to Anne Bernard. I know you have a bunch of social media there, and
oh, thank you.
uh,
But all right, everyone, go look up Johnny's YouTube channel. Follow his journey. See the world of possibilities. He's told you himself. He's nothing special. I mean, he's a great guy, but we're all great people, right? So we're all capable. Go get the inspiration. If you don't know, oh, what skills do I learn? Well, go check out Johnny's Instagram and go check out his YouTube channel and just pick some of the skills that he's mastered, and he shows you how to do it. And contact him if you need support, help, and assistance and inspiration, and give him new skills to learn.
I love it. Yes.
All right, Johnny, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story and your experiences with us.
Yeah, no, thank you for the invitation. This was a very enlightening moment for me. So I really appreciate the invitation.
All right.